The goal of education is to prepare students to participate in society, and for most people, vision is fundamental to learning. For visually impaired students, there may be limitations to learning, including in the areas of concept development, language, movement, and other development. For this reason, visually impaired children may need to learn to use alternative means and curriculum strategies for reading, writing, interacting socially, and performing various daily tasks. It is important to remember that each child is a unique individual and their educational program needs to be adapted accordingly. Experiences and concepts casually and incidentally learned by sighted students, whereas this may need to be systematically and sequentially taught to visually impaired students. Indeed, they may need instruction in a variety of specific skills identified as the expanded core curriculum. Today, the expanded core curriculum is widely accepted by the public and private school educators of visually impaired students and continues to be the framework for innovation and educational program design. A visual impairment can affect all areas of functioning well beyond the classroom. The expanded core curriculum extends beyond reading, writing, and calculation. It includes those skills necessary to benefit from instruction in the core curriculum and to achieve functional independence. The expanded core curriculum refers to essential additional disability specific skills for visually impaired students. Students with visual impairments, low vision or blind is unique, and so are the additional skills each student will require in order to achieve success in their educational setting. For visually impaired students, the disability specific skills are within 9 domains and collectively known as the expanded core curriculum, otherwise ECC. When the domains in the ECC are systematically or intentionally addressed by all members of the instructional team, the students' independence and readiness for post-school environment are dramatically improved. The expanded core curriculum is the body of knowledge and skills needed by visually impaired students due to their unique disability specific needs. They need the expanded core curriculum in addition to the core academic curriculum of general education. It is difficult to imagine that visually impaired students could be entirely at ease and at home within the social, recreational, and vocational structure of the general community without mastering the elements of the expanded core curriculum. What is known about visually impaired students is that unless skills such as orientation mobility, social interaction, and independent living are learned, these students are at high risk for lonely, isolated, unproductive lives. The expanded core curriculum is the heart of the teachers, nor should they be, for this is the core curriculum that is essential to visually impaired students and it emphasizes their right to be different. Throughout their lives, sighted children have rich visual experiences by which they learn concepts casually or incidentally. But visually impaired students often miss or learn concepts in an incomplete or distorted way. Since they provide a foundation for future learning, these concepts must be explicitly and systematically taught to ensure that students with vision loss learn them. Regardless of disability, all children have the same needs to maximize their quality of life by achieving the greatest possible learning and independence. All areas of the expanded core curriculum are appropriate and necessary to achieve the goals of education for all children. However, there may be modifications or adaptations of goals, skills, and strategies based on the unique needs of individual learners. The ECC relates individualized educational goals to the child's involvement and progress in the general curriculum. The same curriculum accessed by non-disabled children and address unique needs arising out of the child's disability or disabilities. Since this area refers to teaching the disability specific skills that allow students to participate in their school programs as independently as possible. In addition to Braille, low vision devices, all the children with visual impairment benefit from direct instruction in assistive technology, whether low or high tech. Vision is the primary sensory system that a child uses to learn. From formal teaching methods to informal classroom and social interaction, a child's understanding of the world relies heavily upon visual input. For visually impaired children, including those with additional disabilities, learning is much more complicated. To compensate for vision loss, their education must be incorporate the expanded core curriculum. The expanded core curriculum should be used as a framework for assessing students, planning individual goals and providing instruction. The ECC is a foundational and essential curriculum that prepares students, visually impaired students, success as adults. The individualized educational plan is developed through a collaborative process involving the school, parents and the student and other relevant personnel or agencies. It refers to the adapted or modified aspects of the educational program and focuses on priority learning needs, although the student may also have other learning needs that will not require the same intensive degree of planning and monitoring. Not every aspect of the curriculum and school life needs to be modified for every student with special educational needs. Only those areas of identified need arising from assessment should be covered. The amount of adaptation and support will vary according to the individual learning needs of each student. Some students with more complex needs may require significant educational modifications. An IEP is a written document prepared for a student which specifies the learning goal that are to be achieved by the student over a set of time and the teaching strategies, resources and supports necessary to achieve those goals. The purpose of IEP is to meet the child's needs based on the child's development rather than predetermined expectations based on grade level. The IEP takes both strengths and challenges into consideration, using a child's strength to improve his or her challenges. The IEP team must determine the proper placement for a child using the environment that is the least restrictive possible. A child is pulled out of a regular classroom and put into another environment only when absolutely necessary for the child's education. Any time spent outside the regular education class must be explained in the IEP. Involvement and progress of each child with disability in the general curriculum as well as addressing unique needs tied to the student's disability. Involvement of parents, students, special educators and general educators in meeting the individualized educational needs of students with disabilities. The critical need to prepare students with disabilities for independence, employment and other post-school activities. The expanded core curriculum provides opportunities for equality for the blind and visually impaired. Not to teach, it is to deny the basic human right. The expanded core curriculum for visually impaired children, evaluations to document the present level of academic and functional performance for the development of IEP. Specially designed instruction means adapting as appropriate to the needs of an eligible child under this part, the content, methodology or delivery of instruction to address the unique needs of the child that result from the child's disability. In each child's individualized educational plan must support the child's involvement and progress in the general curriculum to the fullest extent possible alongside non-disabled peers, and address the unique needs arising out the child's disability or disabilities. Disability specific compensatory skills refer to the use of strategies, techniques and adapted materials that visually impaired students need to access all areas of the general curriculum and common core curriculum. All students need to be taught the skills necessary to access information within the standard core curriculum in order to be successful in mastering their educational standards along with sighted peers. Individualized instruction in compensatory skills will help the visually impaired student learn about the world, communicate and develop literacy. Compensatory skills include skills necessary for accessing the core curriculum, including concept development, spatial understanding, communication modes, organization and study skills, access to print materials, and the use of braille or Nimeth codes, tactile graphics, object and tactile symbols, and audio materials. These are divided into three components. One is literary related areas such as braille, handwriting skills, low vision devices and tactual or object symbols. The second one is communication. It includes alternative communication systems such as tactile or object oriented system, for example braille, large print, regular print with or without optical aids, tactile graphics, object or tactile symbols, audio materials or any other combination of these things. Then third one is specialized instruction such as numerous methods to represent spatial, environmental and temporal and body concepts, including those too small, large or dangerous to be experienced directly. Sensory efficiency addresses the use of residual vision, hearing and other senses to enable or enhance access to the environment. For example, learning how to use touch and smell rather than visual cues to identify one's personal positions or one's location, or using hearing and other senses to identify people one knows without cues fits into this area. The visual acuity of children diagnosed as being visually impaired varies greatly. Through the use of thorough systematic training, most students with remaining functional vision can be taught to better and more efficiently utilize their remaining vision. The responsibility for performing a functional vision assessment, planning appropriate learning activities for effective visual utilization, and instructing students in using their functional vision in effective and efficient way is clearly the area of expanded core curriculum. Educational responsibility for teaching visual efficiency skills falls to the professionally prepared teacher of visually impaired students. Students are likely to need structured and systematic instruction in visual, tactual and auditory skills in order to benefit from other areas of the general curriculum and the expanded core curriculum. Learning to use their senses efficiently, including the use of optical devices, will enable students with visual impairments to access and participate in activities in school, home and community environments. These skills that help students use the senses, including any functional vision, hearing, touch, smell or otherwise it is known as olfactory, and taste it is known as gustatory. Training in visual efficiency skills refer to the manner, technique or approach a student uses to complete a visual task as efficiently and effectively as possible. With thorough systematic training, most students with functional vision can learn to use their remaining vision better and more efficiently. Sensory efficiency skills are valuable lifelong tools. They help visually impaired students increase their use of auditory and tactual information in order to make sense of the world. It also involves learning how to use any remaining vision. For example, students with low vision need instruction in how and when to use residual vision. This area of the expanded core curriculum focuses on two broad interrelated components. Orientation, knowing one's position in relation to other things in one's surroundings and keeping track of how these relations or positions change as one moves throughout the environment. Next one is mobility, means the physical act of moving from one place to another. The development of conceptual understanding of the environment, including physical layout and spatial relationships amongst people, places and things, is the foundation for orientation. It plays a vital role and emphasizes the basic right of people who have vision impairments to travel independently as possible, enjoying and learning to the greatest extent possible. Students also need to learn about themselves and the environment in which they move, from basic body image to independent travel in rural areas and busy cities. Students need to develop problem solving strategies necessary to travel in familiar and unfamiliar school and community settings. Further, they may require training in specific skills such as cane use, road crossing and use of public transport. Optimizing the use of residual vision may require the use of low vision aids such as telescopes and sunglasses, or strategies such as wearing hats or visors to reduce glare. Well-developed social interaction skills are critical for developing positive self-esteem, building relationships and ultimately for acceptance into society. To communicate effectively with others, establish friendships, positive social relationships and be perceived as a likable human being, a person must demonstrate good social skills. These skills needed to respond appropriately and participate actively in social situations such as shaking hands, turning toward others when speaking or being spoken to, using language to make a request, refuse assistance or express a need, expressing emotion and affection appropriately, participating appropriately in conversations in various situations. Social interaction skills are essential for engaging with others. Yet, much of the content in this area is typically learned through casual observation of others. But visually impaired children are unable to casually observe how others interact and engage socially. They need systematic and purposeful instruction in order to learn social skills. They may require thorough, careful, conscious and sequential teaching. Effective social interaction skills enable the student to participate in healthy and safe social relationships, seek information to solve problems and participate in recreation and leisure activities. Technology is a tool to unlock learning and expand the horizons of students. Assistive technology, also known as access technology, is any device or service that increases participation, achievement or independence for a person with a disability. Access to information in real time is a key issue for visually impaired students. High and low tech strategies may be critical for students to access the general curriculum and enhance communications. Assistive technology is an umbrella term that includes assistive and adaptive tools as well as instructional services that can enhance communication, access and learning. Assistive, designed specially for people with visual impairments such as braille displays, electronic magnification, optical magnifiers, daisy players, enlarged mouse pointers, devices with voice output, white canes, visors and sunglasses. The efficient use of assistive technology increases access to the core or general curriculum and enables students with visual impairments to learn and participate along with their sighted peers. Training in the efficient use and maintenance of assistive technology and increases the potential for maximum involvement in all areas of curriculum and in life. It gives visually impaired persons the capability of strong and retrieving information. It brings the gift of a library under the fingertips of the visually impaired persons. Technology enhances communication and learning as well as expands the world of visually impaired persons in many significant ways. Thus, technology is a tool to master and it is essential part of the expanded core curriculum. This area of the expanded core curriculum is often referred to as daily living skills. It consists of all the tasks and functions persons perform in accordance with their abilities in order to lead lives as independently as possible. These curricular needs are varied as they include skills in personal hygiene, food preparation, money management, time monitoring, organization, etc. While some of these skills are addressed briefly in the general education core curriculum, visually impaired children have limited opportunities to observe adults and peers engaging in these activities. Therefore, their encounters with independent living skills may be passive rather than active learning opportunities. The skills and knowledge that sighted students acquire by casually and incidentally observing and interacting with their environment are often difficult, if not impossible, for visually impaired students to learn without direct sequential instruction by knowledgeable persons. It is skills to ensure enjoyment of physical and leisure time activities, including making choices about how to spend leisure time, actively participating in physical and social recreational activities, trying new leisure activities. Recreation and leisure activities are important for quality of life during the school years and beyond it. Skills in recreation and leisure are rarely offered as part of the existing core curriculum. Rather, physical education in the form of team games and athletics are the usual way in which physical fitness needs are met for sighted students. Many of the activities in physical education are excellent and appropriate for visually impaired students. In addition, however, these students need to develop activities in recreation and leisure that they can enjoy throughout their adult lives. The teaching of recreation and leisure skills to visually impaired students must be planned and deliberately thought and should focus on the development of lifelong skills. With adaptations, modifications and safety considerations, students who are blind or have low vision can participate in many of the same individual and group activities enjoyed by their sighted peers. Modification can be as simple as, for example, playing tennis with a larger ball for a student with low vision, running with a sighted guide, each holding one end of a shared length of rope, then under inflating a ball so it is easier to catch. These skills that enable visually impaired students to move toward working as an adult, including exploring and expressing preferences about work roles assuming work responsibilities at home and school, understanding the concepts of reward for work, participating in job experiences, learning about jobs and adult work roles at a developmentally appropriate level. There is a need for general vocational education as offered in the traditional core curriculum, as well as the need for career education offered specifically for visually impaired students, because unemployment and underemployment have been the leading problem facing adult visually impaired persons in the world. With limited ability to learn about employment options via observations, students need to be taught about the various types of career options and the skills necessary to achieve personal goals. Career education will provide students with visual impairments of all ages the opportunity to learn through hands-on experiences about jobs that may not otherwise be aware of without the ability to observe people working. They also learn work-related skills such as assuming responsibility, punctuality, and staying on a task. Career education provides opportunities for students to explore and discover strength and interest and plan for transition to adult life. This area of expanded core curriculum highlights the importance of developing confidence. Self-determination involves the student identifying their own interests, values, motivations, as well as a personal understanding their own abilities and limitations. The student then takes this information to explore how this personal awareness relates to a variety of life choices. These skills lead to competence as opposed to learned helplessness, and it is appropriate for all students at all ages and abilities. Students with visual impairments often have fewer opportunities to develop and practice the specific skills that lead to self-determination. Transition planning provides a powerful opportunity in which to both teach and practice skills directly related to self-determination development. This includes engaging in goal setting, problem solving, effective communication and listening skills, boldness and self-advocacy, and decision making. Educational programs should promote these skills. Young visually impaired children need to develop self-determination. This includes having these students experience and practice these skills in a regular basis. Set personal goals. Solve problems that act as barriers to achieving these goals. Make appropriate choices based on personal preferences and interest. Participate in decisions that impact the quality of their lives. Advocate for themselves. Creation action plans to achieve goals. Self-regulate and self-manage day-to-day actions. The classroom teacher is responsible for teaching children the basic academic curriculum, but the expanded core curriculum covers the unique specialized needs for visually impaired students. The subjects included within it have to be taught by a special education teacher. This teacher is a pivotal member of the educational team that works with the visually impaired children. As teams of teaching learning process a thorough look at each visually impaired child's level of performance in each of the areas of the core and expanded core curriculum can yield valuable information on which the base recommendations for the next academic year's programming. Not all areas will have equal urgency each year, but to make informed decisions on where to focus, it is essential to measure progress and functioning across all areas. Teachers, parents, and other professionals working together can and should prioritize the needs in order to develop an appropriate and comprehensive educational program for the visually impaired student.